able to work with that. And so if we try to control something like that, then we're going to spend most of our time trying to control it. And so the idea is we're going to, and there's more details coming out. I've written and have gotten lots of feedback from our team and advisors on the Medium article that's coming out tomorrow that will give you an idea about this. But we're going to be creating pools, and as well as working with exchanges. As a matter of fact, right after this call, I'm going to be on another call specifically about that. It's Sunday. It's just another work day. This is Friday number 3 for me. So the idea is that we're going to be working on having that be controlled by DEXs and centralized exchanges, and then that's really how the community decides that will work. And one of the first things I can tell you is that Strong will immediately be much harder to get, and even Stronger will, with all the various other things we're putting in place, will start to be harder to get. Now, we're not going to go and cap things immediately. We're not going to go and change people's rewards things or change the NFT stuff. All that's going to remain the same initially. But just wanted to let you know that that's how we're doing it. So yeah, let's move on. But that's basically what we're looking at, is that we're not a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange. We don't want to be involved in that, because just the complications of doing so. It's much more complicated than you think to just say we're going to put that up there. But we will provide liquidity. We're going to provide strong to stronger and stronger to ETH, and provide a substantial amount of liquidity, and I mean substantial. So we want to make sure that there's the ability for this to just continue on, and for the protocol to grow, and for everybody to be able to participate. Saul, back to you.
Wow, great answer. Hit a lot of concerns there with just one question. Thank you for that. So for this next couple of questions coming up, I believe they are 2 parts of a larger answer, and I think there's a lot to say here, so I want people to keep that in mind, but I will go one at a time. Our first one from Gcoin: with the info from the light paper, what would be the benefit of creating new nodes now using Strong, when it's likely to pay out in Stronger, which currently we don't know the value?
I think that's one of the things that people have continued to do, because they, again, I think here's one of the things, is that I see it as a huge plus, because the way that we're constructing this, the way that we architected this upgrade, is to begin rewarding people with Stronger. And the idea behind that is that we're not going to go and flood the supply out there. We're not going to, go out, do an IDO and sell a bunch of stuff. We don't have any of that. We don't have a supply for doing any of those kinds of things. And so literally we're just flipping over. It's flipping a switch. And so is there uncertainty about the price? Well, there's been uncertainty about those things. I literally, even saying that word that I just said, that starts with P and ends with E, I can't even really talk about that. I can't really talk about those things. I mean, that's basically, we built the protocol. There's a certain amount of stuff that we can control, and there's things that we can't control. But what we want to do is have it so it's a place where everybody can safely participate. And there's a quick segue on the safety side. It's like, well, people do still have their wallet seed phrases taken. And that's, again, completely outside of the protocol, because we don't have your account. But we can do something once we get to Strong Chain. There are a couple of things that we may be able to implement that we've actually built that may work. And then we've also got node migration and node transfer. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So what's the benefit of creating new nodes using Strong? There's huge benefit, because you will be the first to get Stronger. It's a huge benefit, huge plus. If you're going out there and trying to acquire them any other way, you can't. And so if you're creating strong nodes, or nodes contributing Strong, you'll be the first to be able to get Stronger rewards.
Great answer, which moves perfectly into the next question. However, I'd like to state that it's great to see so far our community's confidence in the new coin. In the last 12 hours alone, we've had almost 3,000 new nodes created. So thank you, everybody, for believing in our upgrade. Moving into our next question from Ox: Do you feel that if too much of the stronger supply is released too quickly, it would dilute beyond the point of return?
Well, that does definitely, those do sound like those two questions are related. I agree, Saul. And one of the things is that this also goes back to what I was talking about earlier, is that there is going to be an extreme limitation on circulating supply. We have no we're not your typical company here. When we talk with especially a DeFi company, when we talk with this, there's this huge we talk with these different companies, and they want us to list, all of our various things, and how much did you give to an IDO, and how many different investors do you have, and how much tokens are they? It's like that doesn't apply to us. We haven't done those things. And so there isn't some big dump that's going to happen with a bunch of people that are holding stronger. Go look at the wallet right now. There's one wallet. We'll be splitting that out on Monday and Tuesday into some of the various things that were called out in the light paper. By the way, some of those are going to change a bit. There's another question coming up, I think, about marketing and what we're going to be using that for. But some of those are going to change. We're not going to be releasing a lot of Stronger. It will be hard to get. It'll be basically the same as Strong currently is, and there's not going to be a lot initially circulating, and there's no dumping. There's nobody that's accumulated, a million Stronger or 10,000 Stronger. There's nobody who has done that will be able to go out there and do anything. And so the dilution is kind of a strange and almost almost absurd question. I mean, the Federal Reserve printed, let me get back into my Jerome Powell thing here, with the money printer goes brr thing that everybody had on back a couple of years ago. The Federal Reserve printed trillions of dollars during COVID. And they balanced that with QE, right? Quantitative easing, where what quantitative easing is? Well, it's buying up the money that you printed. So it's like they're printing it and they were buying it up. And so there's all sorts of ways of doing that kind of stuff. Amazon, I think I mentioned in the last AMA, did a similar thing. They did a 10-for-1 split, and then they agreed to buy up a certain amount. We have things in place to be able to do that, but the United States and other countries still have inflation. I'm giving my United States perspective. I live here, but we still have inflation due to many other factors, supply chain issues, war, all sorts of other stuff. You can still go out and buy gas and groceries and do all the other stuff, and you're still living, and some things are more expensive, but there's also other things that offset that. So when you do that kind of stuff and you have a bunch of supply out there, it's like, well, it's not the supply. And people also go out there and they look at market cap. Well, the market cap, look at their market cap. That's ridiculous. There's this huge supply. It's like, okay, you guys are familiar with Ripple, XRP? Go look up how much of Ripple is owned, or how much of XRP is owned by the founders. I believe it's still over 90%. Okay. The token is still out there. People still trade it. There's all sorts of other stuff, even though they, of course, had some other issues. May not be the best example in terms of, well, how well is it? Are there regulatory issues? There's an SEC action, et cetera. The idea is that dilution is really a matter of, well, what kind of supply do you need to have in order to do something? If you had something, let's say you're at a restaurant, and people at the door, there's people waiting at the door, and people can't, and not only can't new people come in and take the seats until the other people have left, but they have to wait until the other people have paid, because then they have to literally pay everybody and come back and then say, okay, now you can put more money. Here's the money. You can change this into restaurant money that allows you to go back in and pay it, because we only have a certain amount of restaurant money circulating here, and so it slows everything down. And so part of having an open money supply is pretty important, right? That's why more dollars are printed. Keep the dollars circulating. If dollars get hoarded by people, they don't circulate. They don't go to your local restaurant, your local store, your local bodega. They don't go to anywhere. They just stop. And if that stops, then everybody starts having problems. And so this is the circulation problem. The dilution problem is really the other side of a circulation need, and having a circulation need. And so, speaking of that, by the way, our sister company, we share some investors. Wax, if you guys follow Wax at all, they just released this thing called Blockchain Brawlers, and I'm a huge admirer of it. I was talking with them right before they were going to release it, and you know how many tokens they have? Everybody raise your hand if you know. I wish I could see you. Seriously, I wish I could see everybody out there, but it's
Whole lot
one.
of tokens.
It's 1 trillion. Saul we were laughing about this the other day. It's 1 trillion tokens, and they released it, and the token came out the other day, and now the price is down a little bit, but not very much. It's around, I don't know, 50 cents, whatever. Irrelevant. They have 1 trillion token supply, but what are they going to use it for? This huge game ecosystem. Why do they need it? Because, well, it has to circulate. They have to be circulating Axie Infinity. And, again, I'll do another quick aside here. Axie Infinity. My heart goes out to all the people involved in that, because, that hack was extraordinary. $620 million, maybe more. But where did that come from? That came from people investing in the project. That's going to devastate a lot of people, by the way. Hopefully they'll be able to make it up and do some other stuff, but they have a massive circulating supply because it's a massive system. Now, again, going back to what we talked about, we're not going to circulate 10 million tokens. We never were going to circulate 10 million tokens when we had it with Strong. We simply were saying we're going to take that off the table. Looking back, we just said we're going to take that off the table and set it aside, and the community will decide when it gets unlocked. So that's the only difference here. So we're not introducing the full supply at once. Only a small part of the supply. There is not going to be any more Stronger initially let out there into the community than there is Strong currently circulating. As a matter of fact, it will start off being less. So that's a small amount compared now to the total supply. And the total supply is primarily going to be set aside for the Strong chain. And again, if you look at what you're really going to be doing, well, then what happens when that's circulating? Well, are you familiar with TVL, total value locked? What happens is people take those tokens. Once you can be a validator, again, remember, we're making this so it's a community-based validation on the Strong chain where anybody can participate, not just people with lots and lots of tokens. You know what they're called. So anybody can participate. Well, what that does is it's going to lock up. There's going to be huge TVL for Strong chain. And so even though there will be more tokens, a lot of those will be locked up in order to get validation rewards shared with the community. So we've really been thinking a lot about this and trying to make sure that this works not only for the transition, but also to open it up for Strong chain. And so, and that's how a bill becomes a law. Anyway, so that was another long answer. So thanks for always, so we'll kind of sits on, we'll ping me on the side and say, you might want to wrap that one up. So we'll, next question, please.
Well, this answer, full of great information. Thank you for sharing. Moving along to our next question from Captain Tibby. How will Strong Block use the marketing allocation of Stronger as shown in the light paper?
Well, that's a good question. And again, we may not use, I think it's right now in the light paper set aside as 1 million tokens. We're probably going to narrow that down and have some just bigger buckets for future stuff that we're going to do. Those are general guesses. Typically what happens is you're bringing other, not just awards. People have asked about awards. How do I go about getting an award, once the Strong chain is going to build a dApp on it? Well, there's different kinds of grants and awards that'll be there, like there are in other chains. But there's also bigger things where we may be able to do a partnership to bring somebody in exchange for some dollars, and not dollars in this case, but in exchange for some tokens that would be locked up for a period of time and then trickle out to that partner. Don't even know if that's going to happen. I've done a number of those different kinds of deals with different chains that I work with. I did that while I was at Block One. And so there's different ways that you can make all of that stuff work. And so on marketing, this is one of the things that I've talked about, probably not quite enough about Strong chain, but Strong chain is going to be very important. And how big it gets will depend on what the community wants to happen and what we do as a community. Here's why: because we're not going out there and saying we're just going to build a chain and hope that everybody comes to it and make sure that it's just out there and really not focus on the technology. We got to build. We started off, StrongBlock started off with blockchain as a service. That's what we did. Why? Because we felt that there was going to be tons of blockchains out there. Turns out that there are tons of blockchains, tons of tokens. But what our goal was when we were building the blockchain was to understand how to build one that was secure, fast, and brought value back to the community. Again, secure, fast, and brought value back to the community. And so when we're doing this, when we're giving, when we're talking about the future and building out Strong Chain, the goal behind that is really simple. We want to be able to have it so that we make sure that there are lots of people who can participate, that it can grow over time, but it's going to start off very specifically as something that our community needs. I think I hinted at this last time. It's like, imagine looking at just one building in the city that you live in and saying, well, that's the only building you can ever have. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't be a city. It would just be one building and one street. Imagine being able to build things out a lot more than that. And so the idea is that's where the marketing money will most likely come in. We're not going to go out there and spend it on. I remember as you probably all know, I've been around perhaps a little longer than some people in technology, and I was one of the people who helped create Edmunds.com. I was the founding CIO for that company, and it's a car. It's a car pricing site. At the time, we were in the top 30 internet sites when we first launched it, and one of the things that we did at Edmunds.com was that as we were putting all of these various things together, we were able to go out there and build this whole big community, build all the other stuff that needed to be out there. And we had all sorts of different kinds of partnerships and all sorts of different things that we did. And there were other people that were doing that during the .com era as well. There was a company called eToys. They had this really extraordinary Super Bowl commercial. Spent millions of dollars on it. About 3 months later, we bought up everything from their, they were down the street from us in Santa Monica, California. We bought up all of their stuff for pennies on the dollar, or bought some of it for pennies on the dollar, because they went out of business. Never worked. Their business model never worked. And so we're not going to run out there and say, oh, well, we've got 1 million tokens. Let's go out there and get ourselves a Super Bowl. And I don't know. Hey, I live in California. SoFi is there. There's Crypto.com has a stadium. SoFi has a stadium. Who knows? There may be other reasons for doing that. But if so, there'll be a good reason for doing it. So anyway, not sure is my answer. If you guys have ever watched Idiocracy, I'm not sure. So anyway, next question.
Well, I was already looking forward to the Super Bowl ad, but
don't rule anything out. This is game theory. Don't rule anything out. That's a good point.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so moving along to the next couple of questions here. I'm going to group these two questions together as they'll be answered. Is there an update on allowing claiming of multiple Service 2 nodes as one, lowering the gas fee significantly? As it was mentioned, it was being tested in an earlier AMA from Riley and from Strong Konecki. Looking at the roadmap, what are entangled nodes?
Entangled. So great. So the first one that we talked about from basically Riley and then from Konecki. Let me answer it by saying this. These are the things that we've had ready to go for some time. For us, we felt that the only way to really effectively grow was, again, to make the switch from strong to stronger, make the upgrade. Multiple S2 nodes, that whole idea, and the idea of entangled nodes, all the other stuff, all of those things are ready to go. This is what I was alluding to earlier, is that we are literally trying to figure out what the best order to start releasing those things. These have been done and tested. They're ready to go. And so the gas fee issue, I'll try to put this the best way. I mean, Saul and Robert have inside information because they get to attend the scrums here. And so, and they've been very good about not letting this out. And I won't let, and I always, I'm pretty, I zip my lips on some of these things, but one of the things that's really important here is that imagine something where you are able to take all of the nodes that you have and pay just one gas fee. I'll leave it at that. And then what are entangled nodes? Well, people have been asking about sizable nodes and entangled nodes. Those are kind of like our code words for those projects, but those things will allow you to move things around in not just one node at a time, but be able to actually control them, put them in a marketplace, pay gas fees, pay claiming fees, pay claiming fees, pay node maintenance fees, and add to them and add in different ways. And also, remember that at one point it was like, well, when Strong's price was really high, people were worried, well, it's too expensive for me to get in. What if you just needed one Stronger token? So those are the kinds of things that we're working on right now. And when I say working on, I mean they're already done, and we're going to be releasing them. And so all those things are coming up. And so I can't go into any more details about that, but that's what we're doing. How it's going to work, you're going to find out. But we built it so that it will be less expensive and easier to participate and more expansive and allow you to do things that you've been wanting to do for a while. Just need to make that, cross that bridge from strong to stronger, do that upgrade.
Wow, thank you for the teasers there. I'm not looking at Strong Chat right now, but I could physically feel the ripples emanating from Strong Chat. So moving along here, our next question from U1967. With the news of JP Morgan involvement in Infura and MetaMask, is there scope for Strong to be a competitor? A strong wallet with a swap feature similar to MetaMask, which did do in 2020?
Yes. Oh, am I supposed to say something else? So the answer is yes. When we get to Strong Chain, all those things are possible. That's why we're doing this transition. First of all, Strong to Stronger opens up all sorts of features that we've wanted to do. Strong Chain opens up new products as well. And those are the kinds of things we're looking at, is revenue to be able to run on other, not just supply, again, starting off working on supporting Strong Chain, but then after that, supporting other chains, doing partnerships, wallets, all sorts of things are now possible.
Yes, I don't think however many times we stated, we can overstate it. Strong Chain is going to be exciting for many reasons.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Moving along to our next questions from Press 3. Is Strongbot looking to roll out service contracts that require more than 10 strong in the future?
That goes back to that thing we were just talking about with some of the questions from Kaniki and from Riley. Yes. More than and less than, and it would be more than less than 10 stronger in the future. Yes. That's the idea, is that that's going to be pretty flexible. You'll be able to participate in a much less rigid way. We've had it, the 10 strong contribution. Once we get across the bridge here to stronger, within the next, month to 2 months after that, you're going to see the ability to have more or less strong.
Wow, very exciting news. Moving right along to Jason the Professor's question. For Polygon nodes, what is the decay rate? And is this the model that they will likely use for the Ethereum Service 2 nodes?
Well, I can't go into the decay rate. We will be publishing that so that everybody knows what different types of things will be there. The Service 2 smart contract allows for multiple different node types, multiple different quantities of stronger to be put in and be rewarded, and multiple different decay rates. The idea would be that there would be different amounts of things that you could do up front that you could help find out. First of all, well, if you do this, this is the decay rate. If you do something different, this is the decay rate. And so it's, yes, once we get people into Service 2, with Polygon, that's already possible. But we paused making introducing any further enhancements that are already tested on our test nets until we get past that. But yes, that's where we're going to be able to do is once we get that, then you'll be able to see upfront, here's the decay rate. And then you'll also be able to look at and say, well, there's a marketplace for it. So if I do this, I put this in, it will go up to this point, and then, it's like, what's the resale value of this node at that point? What if I were to trade it and do something else? What would I do? Is there a way to accumulate those? There's going to be a lot of different things that I'll go into that in just a little bit here. So anyway, next one. It segues directly into it now that I see the question here. So go ahead.
Our next question from Strong Haneke. Again, I think you had 2 questions in the last AMA too. Thanks for asking great questions, Haneke.
Yeah, good questions. Good job.
Yeah, people vote on them. So how is the node marketplace going to be set up? Will it be similar to OpenSea? Also, having seen security issues with OpenSea, what will make this more secure?
Well, I think that one of the differences with OpenSea and every protocol has had some security issues. We have not as yet, and I'm going to knock on wood there. It will be similar to an OpenSea type marketplace. The idea is that again, I can't go into too much detail here. It's not within the scope of what we're talking about right now. But the idea is that you'll be able to take something that you have that right now can only benefit you. It's like you got a car, and somebody says, "Well, guess what? You've got to drive that car forever. You never ever get to trade it." And it turns out that you started off and it was a car that had enough room for 2 people in the front seat. And now you got 2 dogs and 2 kids, and it just doesn't work anymore, but you're stuck with it. You don't want that to happen. And so that's really what the marketplace is all about. How to keep it secure? The security issues. Well, one of the things that we spend a lot of time on, which anytime I say this, basically we become a target, but we really work on security. And so anything that we'd be putting out there, we would make sure was secure. Now, security, there's a lot of different security issues, and I'll just spend another couple of seconds on that. There's a lot of potential security issues that happen with any marketplace. The biggest one is just people putting up stuff that isn't legit. And so in this particular case, if you're not listing something that's part of one of the contracts, it's part of the contract in StrongBlock. And so before you even listed it would have to be verified. I mean, it would be easy to verify. With OpenSea, they've got thousands, tens of thousands of different projects out there, and they don't have the ability to verify them against their smart contracts to make sure they're legit. So they let anybody go in and list anything. And people do that all the time. Look, eBay is ripe with fraud. If you order a big mirror and you get it and it's a mirror for a kid's dollhouse, and you thought you were getting an 8x10 mirror, and it's an 8mm by 10mm mirror. There's all sorts of stuff like that. So the way to avoid that is you start off with a fairly generic marketplace that's very specific to your community and your audience and the smart contracts. And at some point, will we have other things in there? Will it introduce other security issues? Yes. But again, the idea behind a marketplace and StrongChain and all those things is to do it within our community and have it benefit that community first. As we expand, then we have the ability to add security as opposed to making it available for everyone from the start. That's a problem. So yeah. Let's see. Let's get on. We got a few more questions. We got about 9 minutes or so here.
Better get to move on then. Moving into our next question. Is the gas for StrongChain going to be strong or stronger from Trank?
Well, right now we're gravitating towards stronger. Gas could even be ETH. It could be WETH in StrongChain. No matter what we do, no matter how we do StrongChain, we're going to make sure that we remain EVM compatible, because otherwise we have to literally rewrite and port everything over, and we just don't think that that's a great idea. So right now it's going to be the primary token that you'll be using will be stronger, but it's quite possible that for gas it may very well be WETH on the chain. And so WETH, again, wrapped ETH. So it'll be a combination. Again, too far out right now. We're getting this bridge done, getting things upgraded to stronger. Then we're going to move on, and we've already been working on StrongChain, but we're going to continue doing that. So again, it's game theory. Once we get all these things out there, we want the ability to make appropriate changes and not be locked into doing a particular thing to make sure that it most benefits the community and is going to get the most adoption.
A lot of excitement for StrongChain. Our next question as well from L. Hartman. Once strong chain is active, will there be a potential to convert existing nodes to strong chain nodes for a competitive advantage against other chains since they are not paying any node rewards?
Competitive advantage. Well, the idea is that you will have all the nodes that we have out there for Ethereum, Polygon. Again, we're going to be ready to do Phantom, and then right after that, another node protocol right after that, just in the next in the coming weeks and months. But competitive advantage is that you'll be able to be a validator on our chain by doing that. Will we be able to convert it? That's a question that we've been pondering. Will we do that in a marketplace? Do we want to have things where you can convert things in the marketplace, or do we simply want to have a node marketplace? I think that we haven't figured how the best way to do that yet. We're trying to do, again, game theory. What's the next question when we get this out there? But do you have the ability to convert? Yeah, that seems like that's probably going to happen, but a lot of it is, I think that the easier way to do that would probably be through the marketplace, where you're going to have different chains will have different rewards, different nodes will have different rewards. Being a validator will have different rewards and different things that you can do. So let's see. We've got a couple more questions, and it looks like we need to wrap up here pretty quick. So.
Here's an easy one. Will strong chain have its own block explorer like Etherscan from George?
Most likely. I mean, we're exploring a lot of things, and we're leaving everything on the table for now. If you think about what CZ did when he was creating Binance and Binance Smart Chain, he went out there and created something. It was really just a simple copy, not even a fork of Ethereum. And then he went out there and got a DEX on it and got wallet on it and got all these other various things. So will we approach it that way? We're considering that. We have to figure it out. Again, we talk a lot with the people over at Wax, who have built quite an ecosystem based on a number of different products and features. We're trying to decide, and we debate this with them all the time. Do we want to have that much control over all those things or not? And I don't know. But a block explorer makes a lot of sense, and as well as other statistics. There's so many things that we have there, like a stats page and block explorer, other things like that. There's so many things that we've been exploring. Way back when, in the fall of 2020, we actually built a DEX. We built it was I believe it was at the time a fork of Sushi, or I think it was SakiSwap, because we felt that SakiSwap did a better job since SakiSwap was a fork of SushiSwap, and we decided at the time that was overreaching our bounds and out of scope for what we were trying to do. So we'll have to figure that out. It is for the current DApp economy that we have, and for the tokenomics. When we get to strong chain, then a lot of other things are opened up.
Yes, and there's a DEX on our roadmap as well. Very excited about that. Anyway, that question segues nicely into our next one from Wealth Dash, one of our admins on the Discord. What kind of D apps is Strongblock looking at funding? When will developers be allowed to apply for D-app grants?
Well, that's once the Strong Chain is launched and we get things going. We will probably, even before Strong Chain is out there, we'll probably do that in the testnet stage, so that we will have people building other things. Again, the first priority is to get everything ready that's already working, that we will already have introduced ready on the testnets for Strong Chain. But then we'll also start opening things up for grants, specifically for dApps that we don't intend to build, or that we feel would be a good addition to the ecosystem. And so that'll happen once we reach the testnet, this stable testnet, not just we've launched the testnet, let's throw a bunch of other stuff at it. Having built a lot of testnets before, one of the things you don't want to do, the first thing that we did when we got like the Block 1 testnet up is a good example, is that we went out there first and introduced it, and we ran different kinds of scenarios through it. And then we started using things like Gatling. If you're familiar, and all of you software people out there, raise your hands if you're a software person to know what Gatling is. Then we started throwing massive amounts of traffic at it, and different kinds of applications and different scenarios running at the same time. Once we get to that point and we're ready for that, then we're going to have people start developing. So looks like we got a few more minutes here, and I think we're at our last question. So let's go for it.
Yes, sir. Our last question coming from another one of our admins, No Clue. What about Strong Block's future is the team most excited about? And what messages do you want conveyed to the community so that they are as excited about it as you are?
Well, I'll start off serious here. This isn't the movies. This isn't the Oscars. This is real life. There are real life consequences. Even there were real life consequences. I'm sure you all saw what happened. I mean, I live in the area where all of this happened, and we approach this. I don't know what you want to call it. It's adulting. Basically, we look at this as almost like our kids. A number of us here have kids and young kids, and where we take this approach so that we can make sure that we are doing the right thing for the community. And that's the thing that we always look for at first, is how will this affect the community, and how will this affect the longevity and the sustainability of the project. I want to get back to that whole thing that I talked about at the start here. 16 months. That's an enormous amount of time for a project that's just continued to grow, and it's still there and people are still participating. I was thinking about this. When I was growing up, I worked really hard at a part-time job, and I don't need to go into what that was. It was in another state. It wasn't in California. But the motivation, if I worked hard and did these extra things, I was able to earn a trip to Disneyland. I did. I lived in another state, as I said, and I got to go to Disneyland. It was out with the rest of my family. I just went with this whole group of people that were there. And so, I live relatively, close to Disneyland, and I was just captivated now. Basically, at the time, I said, this is where I want to. I didn't want to live at Disneyland. I really thought there was a lot more opportunity in Southern California, but you could go in there. There's all sorts of different things you can do in the park, and it just keeps adding those things on because they built that ecosystem. They built a place where lots of people could go and do lots of things, and it keeps adding attractions that people keep coming back for. That's what we're looking for with Strong Block and Strong Chain. The upgrade to Stronger is part of that plan to offer many more opportunities for the community to keep everyone coming back, having fun, meeting like-minded people. I mean, a lot of people have made lifelong friends as part of this community. The platform-wide upgrade to Stronger enhances that for the entire community, enhances that ability to do that, gets us to the roadmap features, gets us to lower gas fees, node migration and transfer, node marketplace, the lower fees, everything. It lays the foundation for Strong Chain, where we can have a community-first situation, a community-first ecosystem that drives value back to the community and enables you to tap into the validator and delegation fee and reward system that is typically only available to majority token holders. So those are the things I'm wildly excited about. I don't know if I've been this excited in a long time, because we had to spend a lot of time figuring out how do we get across this bridge so we have an adequate supply, sustainability, and all the other stuff. We've figured this out. We're on our way to get there. And so I'm very excited about the transition. And for me, it's the start of being able to move into this fantastic new world that we can have, that's like a Disneyland park with all sorts of things that people can do to participate, and that they can bring in themselves. You can do all sorts of things yourselves. It's not just going to be Disneyland. Imagine Disneyland that you get to add a new feature or attraction to. It's not just something that's controlled by the Disneyland, by Disney Corporation. So that's what I'm excited about right now. I don't remember being this excited in a long time. I was talking with my family just yesterday. It's like, wow, they were saying, we haven't seen you this excited in a while. I said, yeah, well, we had to get through a lot of stuff here to get to this point. We're ready now. We're right on the verge of being able to do this. So I am so excited. I'm so excited that you're along for the ride, and that you've been a part of the community, and that we're helping this to grow. I see on here right now that we have, oh my gosh, we had like up to 3,200 people listening while we were running this. I need to finish up here. I actually need to go and talk with one of our partners right now who is in, I'm going to be talking with London and Asia in just a few minutes, just to get some things set up for some next steps. Anything else, Saul, or should we just say our goodbyes and thank everyone?
I think that's it. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Great questions from the community.